So, I just watched the new My Little Pony: A New Generation movie in my own way, and what I mean is, as I said in my video that you saw earlier this morning, about an hour and a half ago, about 90 minutes ago, seeing as though it's about 9:14 in the morning on this TGIF Friday, September 24th, in which the movie officially debuted. And as I suspected, a little after midnight, or around midnight, that was the official beginning to the day, if you will. But anyway, yeah, I did watch it, and like I said in my first impressions video, the first 15 to 20 minutes, I thought it was good. I thought it was really good. You can definitely, like I say, see the connection between the characters really develop and grow, in a sense. Like, again, like I said, in the impressions video, if there is one trope that, if you've watched a lot of movies throughout your life, things like, believe it or not, Warner Brothers' attempt at doing a Disney film in Quest for Camelot, and other films like that, with a similar beginning storyline that leads into the overall story itself, then the beginning of the film, and this is going to have a bit of spoilers, so I do apologize, but then again, I think a lot of these videos are going to have spoilers, to mild to a lot, due to the fact that this is on Netflix, and here in North America, as well as in other parts of the world, but also in cinemas in other parts of the world as well. Basically, basically what I'm trying to say is the storyline that kind of helps lead into the overall storyline here, is we see the connection between Sunny Star Scout and her father Argyle, who he's not in the movie much, because like I said, if you know the kind of trope that, let's say, Quest for Camelot gave us with the main character there and her father when she was a kid, and you've seen it in other movies prior to that one and even afterwards, then you kind of know what's going to happen, and what you kind of feel is going to happen does, and that is, as time goes on, Argyle dies. Yeah, he dies. He passes away. From what I could tell by watching the movie, to the best of my abilities, basically, like, as I was trying to say earlier, the benefit of it being on Netflix is you could skip over certain things. Like, if the songs are not your thing and you just want to, get to the main parts of the movie, of the story, to kind of get a true grasp and gist of what it's about, then you could do that. You could skip right over the songs and get to those moments that you want to get to, that will really grab your attention and really get you more invested into what the story is about overall. But anyway, like I said, it's it does establish the connection between Argyle and Sunny, being her, Sunny being his daughter, which, again, if you, as I was just said, that kind of a trope being utilized in movies at the beginning, it doesn't always end in the best ways, and it doesn't really end because in the best ways, because, like I said, Argyle, as time goes on, passes away. He dies, but we don't know of what, and Sunny now lives in the lighthouse on her own. Now, what's unique about the situation is Sunny and Argyle, her dad, share the same enthusiasm and positivity of uniting the Pegasus and the unicorns and the Earth ponies together again, and he tells her the story, basically, of how Twilight became who she is, and how she reunited all of not just pony kind, but creatures overall. And it's a really sweet moment. It's a really sweet moment between the father and the daughter, and I liked it. The beginning of the movie, I want to talk about that, as I mentioned in my impressions video, the first 15 to 20 minutes. The beginning of the movie was great. I mean, think about it. If you're in the cinemas, wherever you are in the world, watching this on the big screen, and the first thing you see after, let's say, the company that's distributing it in your company's or in your country's region, after the company that's distributing it, the logo comes up and everything, You know, imagine what your reaction will be when the first thing you see is Twilight Sparkle. Yeah, you see Twilight Sparkle, you see Rarity, you see Applejack, you see Rainbow Dash, you see Pinky, you see Fluttershy. I don't know if you see Spike in there. Again, I didn't see him whatsoever. So I don't know if maybe they just didn't want to put him in there, or whatever the case may be, or they're saving him, or they're saving the dragon kind for the series. I don't know. But it was nice to hear the voice actresses. Yeah, we had the actual voice cast return for this film. And I'll say this, like I said in, you know, in the impressions video, Tara Strong said she would not voice Twilight again. You got us, Tara. You got us. Give you credit. You got us. So, yeah, apparently she did voice her once again, but it was only for like this brief moment in the film, because basically we find out that the reason we see the characters is Sunny and Hitch and Spout as fillies and colts are playing or pretending, you know, to be these characters, which I thought was a nice little moment, because it does give you that connection that they were talking about, and you see that connection throughout. You see that connection throughout the film. You see it throughout the film. You see these little Easter eggs and moments and imagery, and it's like, yeah, you could see the connection throughout, and it was really cool to see that. So anyway, as time goes on, Sunny, of course, now an adult, you know, an adult pony, Earth pony that is determined to, you know, accomplish this goal that she and her father wanted to, you know, see through when he was around, or when he was alive. She's determined to see it through, and she goes through a lot just to make this happen. One of the things that I mentioned in the impressions video, where I left off, well, I didn't leave off there, but that I saw, was we have Sunny, you know, she's delivering some snow cones and everything, which is a little business she does on the side, and she's delivering them to the Cantologic presentation, convention, if you will. And Hitch, basically, her friend has now become the sheriff. He has now become the sheriff of Maritime Bay. And Sprout, I should say, the friend, becomes his deputy. And that's going to be an interesting scenario when that as that plays out in the movie. But anyway, Hitch basically doesn't want Sunny to get herself into trouble just because of her beliefs and all that. So he does what he can to keep her in line. He'll basically try to protect her because he cares, as I said in the impressions video, very much about her. He cares about her very much since because they grew up together, and he doesn't want to see anything happen to her. So Sunny, though, being who she is, you know, agrees, okay, I'm not going to cause any trouble, you know, I'll behave. We find out from Sprout that his mom, Phyllis, who we see at the beginning of the film as well, back when they are Colts and Phillies, you know, we find out his mom, Phyllis, banned her from the building, or at least from the event, because of her beliefs and everything. And of course, you know that when a main character like Sunny is banned from something like the Cantologic, you know, showcase and convention, that of course she's going to find a way in, and she does, and it causes a bit of a ruckus, and it basically, you know, gets her in trouble. Hitch has to get her out of there, and he talks to her and says, "Look, Sunny, he tries to talk sense into her. And he's like, "Look, I don't know, you know, why you're doing this or anything. You know, why do you keep?" He basically wonders why she keeps doing this, you know. And she tries to argue that, you know, all she wants to prove is that all pony kind can get along. Even when he says that his job as sheriff is to protect every pony, and she kind of has to counter that, or not kind of, but she does kind of try to counter that by saying, see, you said every pony, and then she says, which includes Unicorn and Pegasi. Anyway, you know, Hitch, like I said, he tries to talk sense to her. He even brings up, you know, something that we all kind of suspected, you know, depending on the time gap between Generation 4, Friendship is Magic, and New Generation, Generation 5. You know, since they're both set in the same world, the same kind of continuity in a sense, you know, kind of, I kind of, I guess you could say, kind of like loose continuity. I'm not really. Well, I'll put it this way: it's the same continuity, but it takes place way in the future. But it's the same world and everything. The same world that we saw in Friendship is Magic. And Hitch, like I said and I know I'm repeating myself saying this, but as I mentioned in the impressions video, Hitch does confirm what a lot of us suspected about, like, let's say, the time gap. And that time gap being that it's been so far, we've basically gone so far in time, if you will, that a lot of the adventures of Twilight and her friends, and anybody else around that time frame, like Celestia, Luna, Cadence, that a lot of the stories and adventures that were talked about them are now looked at as fairy tales, like the little legends and myths, urban legends, myths, fairy tales that parents, tell the little fillies and colts to tuck them into bed. So that does, like I say, give us an idea of how far into the future it is. If what we saw in Friendship is Magic, which is a combination of, modern technology and magic itself, is now looked at as fairy tale, as, basically, never had happened kind of deal, because something got lost into translation over who knows how many years and centuries that passed. I mean, we do get an illusion that Phyllis has been doing things for 20 years, basically 20 moons, if you will. We do also get the acknowledgement that magic had disappeared many, many moons ago, but we don't know exactly the time frame. So, yeah, overall, the movie at the start is really good. I mean, we get to see Izzy. Izzy shows up. Izzy is, kind of, Izzy being Izzy. She's got a good heart. She's very Pinkie Pie-ish in a way, if I can make a comparison. She hasn't been outside Bridal Woods, basically. She hasn't been outside Bridal Woods. And later in the film, she kind of lets that be known that she doesn't want, the adventures on to get magic back to be over, because, she doesn't want to lose her new friends that she has maintained, or she has gotten over the journey. Yeah, but getting back to how we meet Izzy. She shows up in Maritime Bay. That causes commotion. Sunny saves her from various situations, including almost being trapped. Izzy is just in awe about what she's seen and all that. Like, we see a big old banner on a cinema for I guess you could say a pony version of the Terminator called the Sterminator or something. I don't know. So we see that. And she almost gets trapped, but Sunny lets her out, and Hitch is like, "Don't you dare!" But Sunny, of course, being Sunny, goes boink, lets out Izzy, and Izzy's wondering. I think in between all this was, Sunny's trying to get her to safety back to her house. Izzy's wondering what's going. Izzy's thinking, because like I said, Izzy's Izzy, he's very Pinkie Pie-ish. Izzy is kind of like thinking, Earth ponies have kind of, have some unique little games they like to play. And, Sunny's like, they're not playing games. They're terrified. And Izzy's like, terrified of what? And, Sunny has to tell her, of you. You're a unicorn. That's what they're terrified about. And Izzy's like, well, that's kind of redundant. Like, she even doesn't understand that. So, anyway, long story short, they get to Sunny's house. We get the scene where that's been featured a lot in the trailer, as well as, as a clip that Netflix Features put out, where Izzy is bouncing the can of beans on her horn, basically showing Sunny that, she has no magic. And so what happens is they have to escape the house because, Hitch and Sprout follow them there. And by following them there, Hitch wants Sunny to come out, because she's under arrest because she's housing a unicorn. And Sprout, being who he is, being very, over-ambiguous, adds to the fact that, we have an army surrounding you. He basically lies about, him and Hitch having reinforcements or an army, an army basically, surrounding them, and Hitch, well, not Hitch, but Sprout. Sprout. Did I say Hitch? I'm sorry. I'm a little distracted. My paint job on my desk here seems to be chipping away a little bit. Sorry about that. Anyway, to get back on point here, Sprout, of course, being overambiguous, adds to the fact, adds to Hitch trying to talk Sunny out of the house and to bring Izzy with her, that, oh, we got you surrounded and we got an army or something like that. And Hitch is like, what? And this causes him to leave, or causes him to get distracted. And this allows Sunny and Izzy to escape, basically leave the house. And what happens is, like I say, they escape. And it's during their escape that Izzy reveals that they have Izzy reveals that they lost the magic like many moons ago. And then we find out, through Izzy, that how unicorns, what unicorns think of Earth ponies, as a species. Basically, like, they just don't think highly of them. They think they're this or that, which doesn't sit well, if you will, with Izzy. I mean, not Izzy, but with it doesn't sit well with Sunny. She's like, oh, charming. When she hears some of the things that the unicorns think of Earth ponies, even Pegasi. And this is even later confirmed when they decide to go on a journey to Zephyr Heights to find out, whether or not the Pegasi have magic, because they can fly and everything. And this is where they encounter Zip, and you can definitely tell that Zip is very adventurous. She definitely has a bit of Rainbow Dash in her, as well as a bit of, I'll put it this way, Zip, everybody says she's like the next Rainbow Dash, which is confirmed moments later, if you will, with what she shows to Sunny and Izzy. She's very adventurous, so she's very freelancing, if you, not freelancing, but very free-spirited. So what happens is, they encounter her because she's just flying about, doing what, just having some fun and everything, and she's surprised about, encountering them herself. And then they hear some other Pegasi coming, which are royal guards, and Zip is like, don't tell him you saw me. Phew! And she just takes off, disappears. And Izzy's like, well, we can't tell him because we don't know your name. Or something to that extent. And then the guards see them. And, of course, they say basically what Pegasi think of them, if you will. And, one Pegasi guard is like, oh, it's an Earth pony, what we do? And I think the more braver one is like, oh, don't worry, they have little brains. And again, Sunny's reaction is like, seriously? She's like, seriously? Is that what you think? And then they look at Izzy, and Izzy's got this big smile like, very, very Pinkie Pie-ish, I'll put it that way. Because then they look at her and they're like, well, what do we do about that? And they say, don't worry, I'll handle it. And this, of course, is where that scene with the tennis ball on Izzy's horn comes in, because the Pegasi guard puts it on there. Anyway, what happens is they meet up with the Queenhaven, and they see Zip again, and they see Pip for the first time. And basically, Pip is live streaming this and even showing, oh, look at this, it's like, and everything. But long story short, they get tossed into a royal dungeon, and they meet up with, and Zip meets them down there. Zip basically says, I want to show you something. And so after Pip comes down to see them as well, and basically makes up the fact that, oh, well, we could, we would teach the others Pegasi to fly, because all the Pegasi believe that the royal family can only fly. They're the only ones that can fly, right? Not knowing the truth. And later on, Zip reveals the truth that they can't fly, that it's all strings and magic and all that, and she's getting sick of it. She's like, I'm done with this. Basically, she wants to fly for real. She doesn't want to keep pretending. And she brings them, and while she's telling them this, she brings them down to what looks like a hangar, but we find out that it's an abandoned Wonderbolt hangar. That's right, it's an abandoned Wonderbolt hangar, and this is even showcased by the fact that one of the things we see is a poster of the Wonderbolts, which I can assume is a poster we've seen before in the show, but it also feels like it's a poster that takes place during the transition of leadership from Spitfire to Rainbow Dash. That's my assumption. But everything is so, like, worn out and everything. Or not worn out, but everything is so, like, forgotten and not all there kind of deal. Well, I wouldn't say not all there, but basically it's so abandoned that, the Pegasi, completely forgot about it. I'm assuming they forgot about it when Magic was lost. I can't really say. But Zip kind of showcases why she comes down there. She says she comes down there to get away from all the stupid nonsense and everything. And basically, she shows why one of the reasons she does is because, of course, this little wind fan thing that she jumps on the lever, and the wind thing, the wind machine basically blows her up, and she's able to fly and glide like that a little bit. And then she points out that's not the only thing I brought you down here to see, or not the real thing. And she shows them a stained glass window, and on the top stained glass window, you see Twilight Sparkle's cutie mark. You see it, and Sunny looks at her journal and realizes it's the same. It's the same as on her journal, and Zip is the one that actually notices this at first when she visits them in prison. So, long story short, she agrees to help them, get the magic back, because what happens is that it's here where, where Sunny discovers, the crystals, these different crystals for the Pegasi and the unicorns. And by looking at by basically taking the crystal that's, little image of the crystal that's, the unicorn crystal that's on the ground, or that's displayed on the ground through the light fixture or something, she pushes it into the middle of the Pegasi crystal, and it fits. It fits perfectly, within. So they hatch a plan to basically be like, okay, we got to get that crystal, but here's the thing. They can't get the crystal because Queenhaven, Zip and Pip's mom, is always wearing it. So, they hatch a plan, and at the same time, Hitch has decided, I'm going to go and find Sunny. And at first, he's basically saying it's going to be him and Sprout that does it, but Sprout doesn't want to go. He makes up an excuse. Hitch buys it, and Hitch, being Hitch, I would say very Rainbow Dash Fluttershy-like, if you will. It's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. This is, meant for me. And you can kind of see, like I said, you see that. It was like I was saying, sorry, my brain just had a brain fart there. I was trying to think about what I was going to say. But you kind of see, like I said, in each of the characters, a bit of a hybrid of the main cast of Friendship is Magic. So with Hitch, you see a bit of that Rainbow Dash egoness and a little bit of the Fluttershy, communicating with the animals kind of deal. Anyway, to get back on topic, while that's hatching this plan to get the crystal from Queenhaven, basically Hitch has been following them. He's been following them, and he finds out when these clouds move and the animals have to point him to the direction, because he's basking in the glow of being all pompous and everything, saying certain things, because he loves the attention. He obviously loves the attention, like Rainbow Dash did. And then they point him in the direction of, like, the big billboards, and you see these big old screens that say "Wanted," breaking news, and "Wanted," Earth Pony, unicorn kind of deal. Anyway, so he follows them, and he puts on a little mustache, if you will, to kind of try to blend in, if you will. Excuse me there. Again, they had a little bit of brain fog. It's early. It's about 9:38 in the morning. I do apologize, guys. Let me get some coffee here. But like I said, he disguises himself to follow them, to get Sunny back and everything, and they all end up at Princess Pip's concert, her big show, her concert. And of course, just like earlier at the Cantologic presentation, chaos and disruption erupts. It's here where all the Pegasi realize that the royal family has been faking their flying, and that just like them, the royal family can't fly either. So, yeah, that pretty much puts the royal family, basically puts the royal family, basically in the eyes of the fellow Pegasi, it puts them basically as liars. It paints them as liars, and you have all these ponies being interviewed saying if we can't trust our own royal family, who can we trust? You have some of Pip's fans being like, Pip used to be a hero, but now she's not because she's this and that. So what happens is they all meet up, and Sonny's like, what are you doing here, Hitch? And Hitch is like, I'm here to arrest you and save you and bring you back home. And it's during this that, he also meets Zip. And Zip reveals who she is, and then they look at, not reveals who she is, but, Zip reveals who she is, and I'm trying to think about what I'm going to say next. This is what happens when you do, unscripted, reviews and all that, with spoilers. But basically, Hitch, as I was saying, Sonny's surprised to see Hitch. Hitch says he's there to arrest her as well as save her, to, basically bring her back. He meets, he sees Izzy again, which kind of worries him a little bit. But then he sees Zip. Zip introduces herself to him, as well as explains, who that pony was that got arrested, if you will, or the pony that they took the crown from. And, Hitch is like, oh, wait a minute, you're a princess? And Zip was like, oh, look what Sheriff just became a detective. Because one thing that Hitch takes pride in as being a sheriff, a server of the law, is that even royalty is above him. Even royalty is somewhat above him, but not really, because we find out because of the lie and the falseness that Queenhaven gets arrested, that the royal siblings are wanted, and it's around this time as well that we see Pip show up. Pip's not happy. She even has the crown, the crystal with her. And she kind of goes back and forth with her sister. And her sister, Zip, is able to convince her, look, we do this, we get our magic back, and everything will be fine. Nobody will be upset anymore. And, and Pip at first reluctantly agrees. And they decide to journey out of Zephyr Heights and onto this sunflower field for a bit to get to Bridal Wood. Because that's where the other crystal is at, the unicorn crystal. And, again, Pip is not happy, and, Hitch is, of course, very reluctant as well. And both of them basically say that they wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for the others. And, and Hitch is like, wait a minute. What I'm trying to say is, hold on. I just, again, had a brain fart there. Like I said, it's early, guys. It's early. I do apologize. But anyway, what I was trying to say is not Hitch, but yeah, basically what happens is they leave Zephyr Heights altogether, and they're going through this sunflower field, if you will, grassy field, to Bridal Wood. And basically, both Pip and Hitch are still reluctant, and they both agree that this is all because of them, and that it's not cool. And then Hitch is like, wait a minute, did I just agree with a Pegasus? So anyway, they camp for the night. They set up a fire. They camp for the night. Hitch once again explains to Sonny that he's worried about worried about what she wants to do, because he feels what you're doing is putting magic back in the hands of their enemies. But Sonny is able to win him over, as well as she's finally able to, along with Izzy's help, able to win over Pip and all that. And it's even before this little camp out that basically Pip and Zip, are still going back and forth. Pip is like, look, once this happens, everybody will be happy. They'll forget about what happened. And, as soon as they get ready to go across and all that, to get to the other side, to get to Bridal Woods, they see that the bridge is out. And Izzy, of course, being Izzy, is able to improvise by tipping over a rotting tree to act as a substitute bridge. And Sonny doing all this when they think, oh, well, we're done. We can't get across. Oh, well, we got to go back. Bye-bye. Or whatever. Sonny's like, look, enough. Here's, basically she puts her hoofs down. She puts her hoofs down, and she's like, look, enough. Here's what's going to happen. And she basically explains, once this is done, you guys will be able to fly again. You'll get your friends back. And as far as you, Hitch, go, I'll go back with you, arrested and all that, whatever the case may be. So they decide to go across the tree bridge that, again, Izzy provided, because Izzy being Izzy. And they basically have the moment around the campfire where they do start to bond a little bit. They actually win Pip over finally. And, Hitch then asks Izzy, why did you come to Maritime Bay? Izzy, of course, around the same time too, because she has this look on her face knowing that the quest could be coming to an end soon. The adventure could be coming to an end, and she doesn't want it to end. She doesn't want to lose her friends. And then, again, this is where Hitch basically asks, well, why did you come to Maritime Bay? What made you come to our town? And then she basically says that, she had heard that all Pegasi and, unicorns were welcome. And she says she found this lantern floating, right? Found this lantern floating with a little note. And she pulls the note out, and it's the same note that Sunny had made with her father's help. And with her father's help, she had set onto a lantern to float about Equestria to go to whoever will receive it. And when Izzy shows what it is, Sunny's got this look on her face like, she can't believe that Izzy has what she drew as a kid. And Izzy is able to connect the, two together, being like, you're the one that made this. And, basically, Sunny's like, and Sunny basically explains that she did it with her father, that they both had this belief, and it, through this, it's able to win a lot of them over, or basically finally win them all over, including Hitch. Where Hitch is like, you know what, fine, I want to help too, basically because, Sunny explains that what, why she did this, with that she had done this little letter with her father, that they set it on the lantern to go about. This is able to, like I say, finally win, everyone over. Pip, like I said, did win Pip over, a little before, but this really won Hitch over. And Hitch is like, you know what? Maybe, Sunny's got a point. Maybe we could try and see what happens. What do we got to lose? Because he's starting to see, like, hey, maybe something is amiss here. So anyway, they go to Bridal Woods. They get disguised as unicorns thanks to Izzy at her place, which she calls La Villa Izzy. And basically they go to this tea shop, which is like a Java shop. And Sunny has a dance-off with Alphabet Little, which is Just Prance, basically the version of Just Dance. She wins, but during her celebration, her disguise is knocked off. And this, reveals to the unicorns that all the ponies there, except for Izzy, are not who they are, not real unicorns, Pegasi and Earth ponies. They get chased out, but they take the crystal with them because, of course, she won it, but Alphabet Little wants it back because he feels he got cheated. They encounter, basically, Queenhaven, who escaped from prison, with the guards following her and everything, and then basically the unicorns show up as well. And long story short, Sunny basically, because they're arguing back and forth, the unicorns and the Pegasi, and Sunny's basically like, she just shouts it out. Well, not shouts it out, but she basically, yells it loud enough to where they, they hear it, and they're like, what? And they all have this look on their face like, what? Because she basically tells them nobody has magic. She says nobody has magic, but she says there's a way of doing it, and she tries to prove this by connecting the crystals together. Being the unicorn and the Pegasi crystal, but nothing happens, and of course this discourages her. They all go their separate ways and everything, and of course Hitch, being her friend, tells her, if you need to talk, I'm here. And Sunny's just dejected. She goes into her house. She starts putting away the main 6 figurines that she has. She starts taking stuff down. She even puts the carousel her dad. She starts to store that away into a little box along with the figurines that. It's the carousel that her dad made for her when she was a filly at the beginning of the film. And it's during this that we see this big like almost disco ball like thing or whatever it is in the lighthouse, which basically provides the light and everything for all ponies around the area in Maritime Bay. So we see this light, and the sun reflects off it, and it gets Sunny's attention to where she notices it's flashing off the top of the carousel, and she she's wondering what's going on, and it's between this, it's during this that she notices something, because she's putting the stuff away because she feels discouraged, but since she notices the table in the middle of the lighthouse, the observatory, whatever it is, it has a little thing in the middle, so she pushes down on it with her hoof, and it pushes down and into the shape of the Pegasi crystal, the Pegasi crystal, and the unicorn crystal, but there's something that's amiss in the middle. And then that's when she notices the light shining off the ball, the light ball, the ball, the crystal ball, if you will, on top, which provides light from the lighthouse. She notices it's reflecting off of the top of the carousel, and she looks at it, takes the crystal out of the carousel, and realizes that's an earth pony crystal. And then she's able to, put it all together and realize that, that basically what I'm trying to say is, she sees the fact that they too, that she and her father, but mostly her father, had this crystal the entire time, the earth pony crystal. She's able to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, and realizes that if they're united, this is what she thinks at first, that if they're united, that's going to bring magic back. So she goes to, find Hitch, but she notices that the town's kind of deserted, and Hitch finds her, and then they notice something going on in the distance. Fireworks are going off and everything, and then this is where they find out that Sprout, during Hitch's time away, has basically become sheriff and all that. He's basically what he's done, because Hitch decided to go off and try to find Izzy, not Izzy, but Izzy and Sunny, I should say. Basically, Sprout becomes sheriff because his mom Phyllis, much to her mistake, as she finds out later, as she basically admits later on in her own way, much to her own stupid mistake, basically acknowledges to him that when the sheriff's away, the deputy becomes sheriff in his place, for a brief time. And it's during this brief time that Hitch is away that Sprout basically lets this power go straight to his head. Much to his mom's discouragement. She even acknowledges, oh my God, some pony's allowing his head to get a little bit big. As I check something here for a second. Hit the thing there by accident. Hold on. But, like I said, she acknowledges that her son, is letting letting the power go straight to his head, to where he goes from making himself sheriff to emperor to stallion in chief, basically president. And it's here that he basically launches the Sproutimus Maximus machine. He introduces that, and Hitch and Sunny show up in time, and Hitch is like, what are you doing? And Sprout's like, I'm doing what you never could. I'm taking the attack to them, because he still has this belief. So he goes on this attack, or at least tries to, and basically Sunny and Hitch decide they got to go to Bridal Woods and warn Izzy and the unicorns about what's going to happen. But it's around this time that Izzy, Pip, and Zip show up, meeting up with them, and then here comes the other ponies as well, the Queenhaven and Appleby Little and the unicorns and the Pegasi Guard. And this is when they all are wondering, what are you doing? What's going on? And then that's when they notice the machine coming, and Sprout is basically like, oh, look, you guys, look, our enemies delivered us to themselves. Now we can take care of them. But here's what's interesting. Hitch, before Sprout is able to talk them back into putting their helmets back on and follow his lead, Hitch says something that temporarily causes the Earth Ponies to take off all this unnecessary stuff, if you will, to protect themselves, because he's able to say, look, the unicorns and Pegasi are not bad. They're not they're not what you make them out to be. And at first it works, and then, Sprout is able to sprout some nonsense to, turn the Earth Ponies back on his side, and everything. So anyway, getting back to what I was saying, they all meet up. Sprout notices this and gets ready to want to attack them and everything, right? So he wants to attack them, and he wants to shoot off all these things, if you will, like we saw at the beginning of the film when Izzy first showed up. They were shooting off these little splat bubbles. One of them actually splatted into the camera, I guess you could say, for a 3D effect or something. I don't know. But so he starts shooting off all these slime ball things, but the Earth ponies are like, they see the Pegasi, they see the unicorns, and they're like, screw this, we're not going to take part in this. You know, they start running off, and he's like, do I have to do everything myself, right? So he starts attacking, and basically, Sunny is able to convince Haven and Alpha-B Little to give her the crystals, which they do. She goes back to the lighthouse, and, of course, Sprout's following after her. Long story short, he attacks the lighthouse. Hitch and Zip try to stop him and everything. One of the attempts to stop him fails because all Hitch does is unhitch, if you will, one of the splatter things, and it hits the lighthouse. Long story short, she's able to put all the crystals into that little table, or that little table with the symbol in the middle of the lighthouse, but nothing happens. Nothing happens. And after it's all said and done, basically after the house gets destroyed, the Sproutomus Maximus machine gets, wrecked as well, and Sprout comes out, I guess, realizing, okay, he's gone a little too far, because he almost got himself killed as well as his mom, because his mom actually stands in the freaking way. She's like, don't you dare, kind of deal. Because she feels like, because she's, realizing he's gone a little too far. Anyway, after basically the lighthouse gets destroyed or damaged very severely, and the machine is stopped, and I guess I could say Sprout comes out and realizes, oops, maybe I went too far. Sunny, comes out of that. She survives and everything. Along with Izzy, she survives. And she realizes that the real magic isn't in the crystals that represent all the pony races. It's in the friendship. It's in the trust it was in the friendship and the trust that was lost. And it's through her speaking this that she looks down at this framed picture of her and her dad when she was little. And Haven is the first one to put part of the frame back together, or at least connected back together. Alpha-B Little does the other, puts the other side of the frame together on the other side, and then Phyllis puts the top, to finish it, to kind of acknowledge, Sunny's right. We shouldn't be acting like this. We should be united. We should be working together. And it's through this revelation that the crystals start to come to life, because they're buried under a bit of rubble, but they come out of that rubble, they come to life, they encircle Sunny, and she basically, as a result, becomes an alicorn. She becomes an alicorn, and that's basically how the movie ends, because by becoming an alicorn and everything, she's helped restore the magic, and the crystals go up into the sky and just light up the sky like the aurora borealis. And they point at something. We're not really sure what they point at. I think Zip points at something, and we don't know what it is. Maybe she's pointing at the aurora borealis. That maybe it's the magic of it's the essence of the main six. I don't know what she's pointing at, but maybe she's just pointing at the lights and everything. But that's mainly how the film ends. Everybody gets their magic back. The Pegasi can fly again. The unicorns get their magic back. Everybody is happy, and that's basically how the movie ends. Well, it actually ends when the pony that was during the Phyllis's presentation, a pony gets trapped with these balloons, and he's just floating away. And there's various times in the movie where you see him floating, still trapped basically trapped on the balloons. And it's at the end where he finally lands back in Maritime Bay, and he turns around and he sees basically, whoa, what the heck? Because he can't believe what he's seeing. He can't believe that there's an alicorn in his presence along with the others. And, Sunny, she gets a little bit of a rainbow design, a little bit in her hair because of her ascension, if you will. And that's how the movie ends, or so you think, because we get a mid-credit scene of these little colts playing together, these three little colts of the Pegasi, Unicorn, and Earth Pony. And as they're trotting along with across the field, we see these little magic hoofs in magic heart-shaped hoops, if you will, start to light up. And basically, that's how the movie ends. Now, I know this went a little longer, for a review, spoiler-free. Well, not spoiler-free, but spoiler-filled, or not so well, I tried my best not to spoil as much, but again, it's on Netflix. What are you going to expect? A lot of people are going to spoil it because, it's out there. And you look here on YouTube and places, it's out there. You get the clips and everything, so I don't think anybody's really spoiled. It would be different, I'll put it this way, it would be different if the movie was in theaters, because if it was in theaters, it would be harder to really spoil anything, because you wouldn't be able to go back and forth with something like a streaming service like Netflix to skip over certain things or, move forward or whatever. But yeah, this is the benefit, because basically you can go back and watch it as much as you want. If you want to come back and do an updated review or observation, that's up to you. But overall, the movie was good. The movie was actually good. It serves basically, I guess you could say it serves basically like a continuation and origin, if you will, a continuation of Generation 4 Friendship is Magic. As well as an origin for this new Gen 5 new generation. So overall, I thought it was fine, and I can't wait to see how they follow it up with the special that comes out in a couple of months. I think it's a holiday special. I'm not really sure, but it's a special that they got as a follow-up, sort of like a mini sequel. And then the series next year also will be a follow-up to the movie as well, because basically the way they end it, like I said, you have that pony that was on the balloons kind of surprised by what happened, and Sunny and everybody's kind of like, where'd he come from? Or they were kind of not where he came from, or not wondering where he came from, but like well, yeah, they're wondering like where'd he come from, because last time they saw him he was floating away. So I don't know if he'll play a factor or what in the special of the series. But yeah, the way the movie ended, it basically, like I said, it did its job. It served as a continuation to Gen 4, Friendship is Magic, basically being in the same world, somewhat of the same continuity, but also as an origin to Gen 5 to help establish it as its own thing. But there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions that a lot of fans are going to want to know about, and I'm going to try to talk about those questions in a little bit in another video. This one's gone a little too long as usual, because of me and everything, doing things unscripted and stuff. But and of course, spoilers within. So I do apologize for anybody that didn't like spoilers. But again, it's on Netflix, and you got clips out here on YouTube and all that. So what are you gonna do? But anyway, though, guys, that's overall. But anyway, though, guys, I just want to come out here and give you my thoughts, on the My Little Pony New Generation movie. Thought it was good. If you're not into the pop songs, the benefit of it being on Netflix, you can skip through that and you won't miss a thing. But overall, it's good, and I highly recommend checking it out. Like I said, it definitely serves as a continuation of what we got in Gen 4 and all that. It's nice to see the main six, even in a, kind of a, I guess you could say, imaginary playthrough done by Sunny and her friends. It's nice to see them back at the beginning, so that was pretty cool. But overall, I highly recommend checking it out, because like I said, it serves as a good continuation to G4 in the world that was set and established in Friendship is Magic, as well as it serves as an origin for Gen 5 to become its own thing down the line. But let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Live chat during the premiere. Like the video. Check out my Teespring store, guys. And check me out at BW Rose's Discussions on your favorite podcast locations, except for Pandora. And also check me out at BW Roses on Vimeo and Patreon at BW Roses as well. So that's all I'm going to say, guys. I do apologize if I had a few brain farts here and there, seemingly spaced out or whatever the case may be. I was trying to think about what I was going to say as I was doing this review. That's what happens, like I said, when you do things unscripted. But anyway, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to you all later.